All right, we're live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest, a returning guest, Sean McCann. We spoke about 13 days ago about Rosemary's Baby, and we got into about the 35th minute of analysis. And there's so much in this movie. It goes as deep as like Eyes Wide Shut, but the gardener decided to ramp up the noise. So I just turned it into a impromptu part two. So we're gonna restart. I would recommend people who've not listened to part one go back and watch it on YouTube or listen to it before we get through this. But I have the time to finish the movie off. But in the interim, I've done some more research. I found some other things maybe Sean didn't see or seen. So we're going to take our time and get through everything. But like I said, where we left off at the last point was at the 35-minute mark. So Sean McCann, welcome back to the show.
Hi, thank you. It's an honor to be invited back. Thank you kindly.
Cool, man. Well,
I've gotten good response from your listeners, and I've gotten a couple emails, and I'm delighted to read what people will say and think. So excellent. It's been great for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I think this will be like our fourth or fifth show. Is that right? Yeah, we did 2 shows on Eyes Wide Shut, The Ninth Gate, and this will be the 5th show. So you can go back, people, and go back, audience, if you want to go back and listen to those, please do. And Sean's just doing a great job analyzing all this stuff. So let's get going. Let's go back to 35. You want to? All right. You sent me some new screenshots, right? So
yeah, I got some new screenshots with all the notes to make sure, because last time I was kind of running late. I was didn't do all my homework before. I always had that problem in school too. So, but I'm prepared today. Today we're good. So at 35 minutes and 49, I think.
Suddenly very hot.
Suddenly very hot. Yeah. Let's get that open. And she's meeting with Hutch, and she's describing to Hutch about how Guy got his part all of a sudden, and he's suddenly very he's very popular. He's very hot in the.
Right, he's very hot, right?
Yeah, because now he's working with the witches, and the witches are clearing the way for him. They made the other gentleman blind, so with their powers of their mastermind, where they put a spell on a person, all the witches in the coven work together and they put them under a spell. And we'll see later, she discovers that in some books. So Hutch here is a classic English intellectual. He's got a picture of
Churchill,
sadly, but anyway,
he's got a pipe. He looks like J.R.R. Tolkien or something.
Yeah, he's like
got an old style
smart guy.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, moving along, so he's all of a sudden very hot, and in the next slide we'll see 37:18.
37:18, right. Let me pull that up. Okay, stop. Share. Got it. Right.
So this is Guy, and he's telling, he brought a bunch of roses, and Rose is part of her name, Rosemary, and Rose relates to Venus, and it's a highly occult symbol. But in
Rosicrucians, all that stuff.
Rosicrucians. Yes, and we'll see later there are roses further in the movie that are put in. But anyway, so he fills the house with roses, and he says to her, "Let's have a baby." And she's like, "Oh, what?" And now that he's working with the Cassavetes or Castivetes, now let's have this baby. Okay, we wanted it. Now it's time. Okay.
Right. It's time. His career's taking off. Right.
Right. Yeah. And he's persistently asking, and then in the next one they circle on the calendar. The time to start is October 4th and 5th. And
I got it. Yeah. There's the calendar in the background, right?
Yeah. And October 4th and 5th. Let's see. It's not really It's not on the Okay, I had looked up some satanic holidays. Those aren't listed, but further in the movie, she circles November 1st and she writes blood on it, and that's All Souls Day. That's the day after Samhain. Well, I guess we'll get to that slide anyway. So so he circles on the calendar, and it's October 4th and 5th, 1965, when she is inseminated.
Okay. So that's the whole sequence. That's the sequence that's coming.
It's not 4th and 5th. I think it's 9 and 10. Shit, I'm sorry. Just seeing.
No, it's 4th and 5th, right? It's October 4th and 5th is circled in the background.
3. Okay. 4 and 5. All right. Okay. So yeah, I'm just trying to be thorough. That's all. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
So she's like, "You really mean it, right?" And then in the next slide after that one, there is 3749 is a good one. We can skip to.
Oh yeah. Oh, see, I didn't even recognize the Lucifer's rainbow, right? Wow.
Yeah.
That's really subtle. Wow.
So yeah, 3749, when he's putting her in the mood, he has a box of lucifers. That's Lucifer is a friction match, if you look it up in the dictionary. And if you look at the heads, it's rainbow colored. So that is like the rainbow was a pact between God and Noah. It's like a symbol from other forces, you know, and also the rainbow colors of light, like it's like rainbow is like all colors that are combined to make white light. So it's like a division of white, like a splitting, you know.
It's also the colors of the zodiac can be broken down into colors too. So you've got the colors of the zodiac. And also the Rainbow Bridge to Satan. It's you take this, there's a book by, I can't remember her name offhand, but you take this Rainbow Bridge to, so that's like and Scientology uses the bridge in, like you're crossing the bridge in Scientology to clear. It's symbolism. And go listen to George H.W. Bush's famous speech of 1990. He said, "We're crossing a beer bridge." So he puts that in there.
Is that the same one with the 1,000 points of light where he's talking about the...
So, and the date is September 11th, 1990. September, that's a very easy date to remember.
Right. Because and it was 11 years before. Exactly. Yeah.
11 years before 9/11. And I don't know, when she's talking to Hutch, I think, this is later on. She talks to Hutch later too when she's not feeling well, right? That's when she says the 11th.
Yeah, that's when Hutch is invited to their house.
Yeah. So you're going to see the 11th pop up. And actually, it's actually interesting because I never noticed it in this film, but I included it in Polanski's The Ghost Writer. When he's writing it, the key document that reveals the real character of who was the guide for the prime minister. I don't want to give the whole movie away, The Ghost Writer, but it's on the 11th page of this manuscript, right? Because the Ghost Writer, if you remember the Ghost Writer, the character of Ewan McGregor comes in after the earlier Ghost Writer died mysteriously.
Right.
Yes. So he has that manuscript. He doesn't know the person, but he realizes the manuscript is telling him something. And there's 11 there too at the very revelatory thing. So Polanski...
He's connected to these power centers. He understands how the machinations of it work. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I think you can make that conclusion easily.
Yeah.
Wow, the Rainbow Bridge. That's amazing. So let's go back.
So the next one is 3926, and that's
this is her chocolate mousse or whatever.
Yeah, she calls it chocolate mouse. So that's important. So Minnie. She said, it's even here in quotes, chocolate mouse. And because she pronounces it wrong. And when we first see her come to the house the day after she meets her in the street, Minnie is wearing a big bow in her hair, just like Minnie Mouse.
Minnie Mouse.
So a mouse is something which gets into places where it's not supposed to be. It's very, and in German, like a mouse is like a knife, or a Mauser. It has like a bullet is the mouse because it invades you, so I think that her name being Minnie and having her dressed up as Minnie when we first meet her in this, and she's like inspecting the house and looking at everything, like very interested. So, and now that was like when she burrowed in. That's like the camel's nose under the tent, and now she's taking over their whole lives, and later in the dream, the the fact that it's a mouse rather than moose is very is it's connected. And
Gotcha.
the if anybody wants to look further into the theory of the Minnie's moose, you should check out Tracy Twyman did a 4 or 5 part documentary breaking down how Mickey Mouse is related to Krampus and
Oh, well,
like
yeah.
like the stealer of children, and it's very interesting. And she relates this part of Rosemary's Baby, her being Minnie, to that whole thesis that she has. It's very interesting.
Wow, interesting.
But it is there. I mean, she does have the bow, and that's why I'm mentioning it here. Uh, so anyway, moving on. So
But it is interesting. You bring up the control. So Minnie is taking control, and it's the theme that I talked about last time at the intro was that Guy is clearly gaslighting and controlling her all the way along, in my opinion. That's the subtext. You don't
yes,
see it overtly, but yeah.
yes. At one point, he even tells her that she was crazy. you know,
Right. So he's fully gaslighting her the
straight
whole
up
time.
telling her she's
And that's,
crazy.
yeah. So he's the one leading her in, which is something I didn't realize until I went through it
Right.
this time.
So it was his idea to have the baby now. You know, he has it circled on the calendar. Was it him who circled it? Did the Castevets come over and tell him do it on this date so that he's born in June of '66, making it 666?
Right.
And
I
I
mean,
heard
it's
it.
really incredible. Yeah. And those guys love dates. By the way, if you don't
Right.
believe that, it's another Lennon tie. So Lennon and Yoko Ono lived in the Dakota, which we talked about last time, but Yoko Ono timed the date of her child Sean. They delivered it on a very important date to her.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
figures.
they literally like we're gonna have him this date, so they had the baby delivered at that
Right.
time or whatever.
And she
Easter.
is a witch, self-described. So, you know.
It's
Uh,
incredible. It's
and
incredible.
so, like, I heard an interview with Ira Levin, and he was describing his sequel called the Son of Rosemary, Rosemary's Son or something, I think, Son of Rosemary. And it was the sequel to this. And he said that when he was writing it, he didn't even recognize that the baby was born June of '66. Like, he didn't think about it. It just occurred that
Just
way.
came out.
Yeah, he wanted to write it in the time that he was writing the book. And, you know,
There's something about the number 666. It's the inversion of what they call the perfect number, right? So I
hmm.
think there's some kind of perfect number that geometrically increases itself, and
I've,
666 is the opposite. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard that 777 was the perfection of man, and 888 is like godness because it's like an infinity symbol. And like the 3 aspects of consciousness, like knowledge, uh, like emotion, and will, like your action. That's why it's 3 numbers. And I think it has Kabbalistic references to. There's a lot going on that I'm not as well of. I'm not as
That's
well
right.
versed. You know what I
I'm
mean?
not
But
either.
yeah,
But it just 666 it's the
right.
opposite of something which would be right in line with kind of satanic thinking, which is
Right.
inversion. Right?
I think it's considered the number of man, as like in the Bible. I think they say it's 666 is the number of man, and that's like your beast consciousness. Your beast like will. Your like the will that's unhindered by your cultured manners and stuff. So like your beast consciousness, what's underlying your you know your natural
Right.
urges and such. And 777 would be the perfection of man, where you have controlled those urges, and defeated them, and now you are a magician working. You can work in time and rhythm of the natural forces, and you understand how, when to do your workings and your magic,
This
whatnot.
this is interesting. Sorry to break your thing,
No,
but
you're
even
good. You're good.
the candle itself in this scene is ritualistic. Just having the
Yeah.
candle of her eating and being drugged.
Right.
So,
Right.
like,
And
not everybody has candlelit dinners every night.
yeah, yeah. I'm not sure what the
And she's
yellow
wearing
candle
red.
is, but
She's wearing red, the Scarlet Woman. She's
yes,
got red hair. It's all
yes, and that's the night that she's going to be inseminated. So
of
like
Satan.
she's dressed up with her red scarlet dress.
Or he dressed her up, or somebody dressed her up,
Maybe he
right?
did, because he's in control of her totally. Like
Yeah.
it's ruthless, and it inculcates a fear in the viewing women, that they don't want to be controlled by some monster man that's going to do this to them and impregnate them. And I don't want to have a job. I don't want to have babies. It's like it's a subtle programming.
Interesting.
Because like, the patriarchal society, the woman is just a, a like a breeder for the man to pass on his name. You know what I mean? That kind of bull crap.
Right. So
Like,
this is all taking place in the context of kind of ERA, equal rights, or whatever.
yes, yeah,
Women's
in the
rights.
time of the like 68, when it was released, or 67, 68, there was, the pill was invented in 1960, and Margaret Sanger was pushing the ideas of abortion. Like, the eugenicists they had eugenist laws in the 30s, and like sterilizing feeble-minded people, and that. So like this is like a compounded. This is like built on top of those earlier ideas, to try. It's more the push of eugenics in a subtler form, you know, to the subconscious, because a movie is like a dream. It's like 2.5 hours, or 1 hour and 1 hour and 45 minutes, something like that. It's or 1 hour and a half is sometimes, usually. I think the REM cycle is like 45 minutes. So we go through however many REM cycles in a night. And so like if a movie is built on that same time length, then your brain will absorb it like a dream, and will remember it differently. So like these movies are like kind of a shared dream. Everybody has seen this movie. It's popular, and they can all talk about it. And so like there's going to be they can sew in a lot of archetypal, like Jungian ideas. It's very effective for culture creation. And like I was saying earlier, this time of like the feminism was happening, the liberating the woman, like going to get a job, and burning their bras and stuff in the streets. And this was like this is in the mind of the viewer already. So this movie is like pulling
the opposite of that, right? So this thing, she's going to become this
total
breeder for
slave.
Satan. Yes. So there's subtext there for the women watching it, like, hey man, this is what I'm not trying to become.
And if they want to
there's subtext of the man's trying to control them and slave her.
Right. And women own their sexuality, but this pushes it so far that it's like it puts them in fear that they'll lose control of their own sexuality. I mean, they don't have to have the pill, or they don't have to abort their baby. They can think like with their cycle. They can understand their cycle and make right choices and all that. So like that's what morality has been teaching us forever. But they're destroying morality with this satanic zeitgeist of Satanism, that they had this whole flower power thing, and then they had the whole murderers in the streets, like everybody's victim, and then the drug war, and wasted youth and all of that. Like,
then Vietnam and just everything, all the
yes,
assassinations.
yeah,
The
exactly.
60s was super chaotic.
Yes,
Well, you think bad today is bad. 60s were
yeah,
off the charts, just
right.
assassins and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And all of that stuff formed the minds of that baby boomer generation that ended up growing up into the 80s and like doing, cocaine on Wall Street and, pushing the money cycle. Like they were totally opposite of what the hippie ideal was. They were like, whoa, that's scary. I don't want to be murdered by the Manson family. I'm going to go join the Babylon and like go work for the man. And you know what I mean? And
Right.
then like the preferred drug of choice was an upper to make them go, go, go. And like,
Right.
more money. And it like, and coffee. And like, it's just like that whole, and then they, in their elder years, it's become this world. Like, look at it. I mean, like it's totally satanic. And I think it's because their minds have been affected by all this programming, all these years. They
Over the
they
decades, right? Yep.
exactly. I mean, they look to the TV for the truth. They watch
Terrifying.
movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, well put. Terrifying. Yeah. So like,
TV is just a hypno programming device, man. It's worse than
exactly,
you think. It's
exactly,
way
and the
worse.
the movie theater too. I mean,
True.
you're in a darkened room where all you see is what they give you, and it totally fills your vision, and all you hear is what they give you. It's a magical place where they
By your
control
own
your
volition,
senses.
too. By your
Yeah,
own volition,
exactly.
I want to go.
Right, yeah, you are consenting to it, and you don't even know what they're going to show you yet. You know, like
Right.
it could be a bunch of murder and stuff, and it's like going into your brain. Like, and anyway, so like the pregnant women or women that are thinking about pregnancy that are going to the movies and seeing Rosemary's Baby, this is going to affect their outcome, the conclusion that they come to when they, if not directly, then subconsciously it will have an effect. And that, I think that's one of the reasons why the movie studio pushed this movie so much. And it was such a, and then they connect it to all the murders that they're pushing, and with Roman Polanski and like, and John Lennon, and all of this is connected to this same zeitgeist of fear that's just descending on the people. And it seems like before that it was like, the 50s, everybody happy, the beaver cleaver, and but then like it was totally changed. Alfred Kinsey came along and fucking changed everybody's ideas about, you know only having sex with in marriage, and that kind of thing. um and then they had like, the Grateful Dead and the, the LSD and the MK Ultra, all that, totally changing
Incredible.
the entire reality of everybody was changed. And
In a
it,
very relatively short period of time. The
right,
change between the 50s and 60s, as far as the time scale in the United States, radical change,
yeah,
man. Really
right.
radical.
And I think that hallucinogens were important for that, because like you can't change that fast when nobody's getting high. I mean, if it's just a normal day and all of a sudden they're giving you these freaks with crazy colors and long hair, people would just be like, that's silly, you know. But if you take a hallucinogen, that breaks down the ego and the boundaries of what you think and how you think, and it helps you to like see from a different perspective, kind of thing. And then if you are being given these ideas of like, take drugs, leave home, go to San Francisco with flowers in your hair, these ideas were like put into the people's minds, and they all just came in 67. They all just showed up, you know. And 66, we talked about before, is year one in the
Right.
Satanic Church. And that was when Anton LaVey's Church of Satan was created, and it was created in San Francisco. Like, everybody
Right. The
come to
same
San
place.
Francisco, everybody,
The
and the
timing
Golden
is
Gate,
off the charts, right? It's just
right?
like all that stuff. Yeah.
And the Golden Gate was like the gate to the West, like where your soul goes to die, you know, like it's very occult if you look into that, but we don't need to go into that. So.
But I think the context of this film is very important. You know, context for all the
Yes.
films. I mean, Eyes Wide Shut, the context, the take, and everything's off the
Yes.
chart. I mean, same with
Right.
all that. So,
And 99 is right before 2001, the beginning.
right. So
of
these
the
guys,
new aeon.
right. So these guys are like they want to get the movie, the producers or either the directors or whoever the creatives are, they're thinking about the time when the movie's coming out. They're not just thinking about the making of it. Like, this is the movie that I want to put out at this time.
Yes, exactly. Because they are engineering the society. Right. And this is a huge piece of it. That's why we're taking so much time to talk about it.
You can get even deeper that she's a symbol of American society. Do you want to say that they're leading her into this, they're giving the birth of the child, the symbolic birth of the new aeon.
Yes, exactly that. She is the psyche of the viewers. She is, you know, the emotions of, you know, the
unsuspecting. She's the protagonist, right?
Right. Yeah. And she, like, much like that Midsommar, you could consider that main character to be the psyche of the people, you know, and how they burn away the Christian ethos and they go back to the occult paganism, you know, because it's healthier for her mental processes as a human. Like, it's really interesting film, that one. But
Midsommar, unfortunately it's fairly similar to this. Like, she's being taken on a journey. She's the protagonist at the very end. Is like
she has no real understanding of what's happening until the very end, and she's but then she consents. She gives her will to it. She's like, yes, okay, good. It's, you know, and that's really what the magicians want from you. Is will.
That's the deepest thing about this film, really. I mean, there's a lot of deep, like there's the Satanism aspect or witchcraft, but just the fact that they're gonna you know, that she is the representation of the society or the human being is crazy.
Yes, and it totally fits with the idea of that satanic zeitgeist being birthed in on 66, you know. So anyway, let's keep moving. She says it has an undertaste, and he says, now eat it. She slaved all day, now eat. He's like telling her.
But even these words are important. The old bat, right?
The
bat. She's slaving for Satan. She's slaving for you. Eat
That's
it.
interesting.
Like, the slave shall serve. Right. These kind of terms are like the bat is like flies at night. Even
exactly.
That's kind of a new thing. So.
And, you know, like Dracula and stuff, she's, you know, Dracula had to be invited in the door just like Minnie Mouse, like, you know, Minnie's Moose, I guess. But anyway, so he's like demanding, now eat it, right? She's like, okay. You know, it's gross to watch, like, him dominate her like that. So he walks into the other room and she dumps it in her napkin because she's gonna do her own will despite his dominating demeanor. And then she shows him the empty cup in the next one, and she's like, do I get a gold star? She's like making fun of the fact that he's really making her, you know, eat it. You know, so it's kind of sick to watch. So going on to the next one. Guy is in front of the television, and he's watching the Pope visit Yankee Stadium. And the guy on TV says he's making a full circle of the park. It's the Pope at Yankee Stadium. And like a circle is like a magic circle, right? So the Pope is circumambulating this park. Like, what is he doing, right? But the Pope is in New York on the day that she gets inseminated. That's important.
Wow, that's incredible.
He was there visiting. And when she's dreaming, he shows up. So that's very important to say. So he might not be there to visit Yankee Stadium.
Are you saying the Pope was involved in the ritual? Is that what they're implying?
I think, well, he was there in her dream, and he made her kiss his ring, and his ring had the tannis root charm on it. And I think that maybe because she dreams stuff that is in real life in her dream, like when she hears people talking through the door or through the wall, she dreams in her dream what is being said. So like that happens sometimes when you take elements of what's happening in real life around you through your senses while you're dreaming, and it influences your dream. So I can't be sure, but he shows up at the moment that she's the ritual is happening, and all of the coven is there also surrounding her. Like she kind of sees them with her eyes open, and they're all like naked in the darkness surrounding the bed. It's a bunch of old people, and maybe the Pope was there too, you know, because she's in and out of consciousness. And I mean, this is kind of wild, but if you believe in the David Icke reptile theory, Arizona Wilder gave an interview with him talking about how she has seen people turn into reptiles. I mean, it's a silly idea, I know, but like their form actually turns into a big reptile. And maybe, I mean, the thing that is raping her has reptile eyes, and maybe it was the Pope himself. I mean, who knows? I'm speculating, of course, but and being
But
a
it
little
is
poetic. But
incredible that he's there. So she's either dreaming it or
yes,
something's going on.
she's either dreaming it or he's there physically. But he is physically in New York on that night, so he's visiting New York City on the same night she's inseminated, and
Going through
those
a
are
magic circle with
yeah,
Widdershins, right? Isn't there specific terms in witchcraft when
yeah,
you go
yeah.
around the circle? It's Widdershins and something else,
Yeah, Widdershins is the
counterclockwise or
counterclockwise. Yeah, because the sun moves around a sundial, the shadow moves clockwise, and so like if you're doing anything in magic that's circular, you'll go with the sun and go clockwise. That's why the clock goes to the right. Um, because
but
like that works with nature, right? And if you're working against nature, you go the left hand path is where your altar is on your left, and then if you're walking around your altar in a circle and you keep the altar on your left, then you'd be going in a counterclockwise fashion. That's called widdershins. um,
and those are magic circles. My understanding, I've read Gardnerian witchcraft. The magic circle and the circle inside and outside, very important. It's a
right,
fundamental aspect of those witchcraft rituals is the circle. You got to draw a circle. You're
right,
within it. You're supposed to be in another dimension when you're within that circle.
right. I
And
think it's like that's where they are, like the other spirits are contained within the circle when you manifest them, and then you yourself have to be in a triangle, like outside of the circle, so that they don't attack you. It's like, um,
there's another element. I'm pretty sure I have to go back and look when I read Gardner's stuff
mhm,
because I read Gardner because he knew Crowley, so he
right,
took some of these rituals. But there's something about when he wrote something about being inside the circle, you're inside some other environment or something.
right,
I'll double check that,
right.
but it just
I
ties
think
in.
Crowley went in the circle when Karanzan, with that Karanzan thing in the desert, and he let it like
Attack and
incorporate,
rend him
like
supposedly.
incorporate into him or
Yeah.
something, and then he tried to like eat the other guy. He was like, it was really a disgusting scenario. We don't need to talk about it, but okay, so she this is a special day, it says on the TV, um, and anyway, she's drugged, we can see, and it says that in 4139 it says
4139.
Pope Paul VI arrived at 9:27 a.m. That's what the TV's saying, and that's the moment when she's like teetering and she drops the chair in the kitchen. So 9:27 a.m. That might have some occult significance. I just wanted to have it here for everybody to see. I didn't really go that far into it. But she's dizzy, and he's carrying her into the bedroom in the 4216. And then after that,
one of the interesting things about the scene is that light is kind of evocative of the moon. It kind of has a moon theme to it.
Yeah, it does. You're right. Yeah, and the moon is like related to the the witches' Sabbath. It's the goddess, of anyway. So she's dizzy, and he carries her into the room, and he lays her down, and under the rhombus, like the male symbol, like he's taking control of her, right? And so 42:33, the dream starts. And so
one of the interesting things, sorry to interrupt, but one of the interesting things is there's a picture, I'm pretty sure, of Polanski's wife Tate with, there was two different strains of witchcraft, Gardnerian and Sander Alexandrian. There's a picture of her with like Alexander's, I'm almost positive, somewhere out there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think they were far more involved in witchcraft than people.
She's high up there. And they also wanted to have, they wanted Tuesday Weld for the role. They were going to have Polanski's wife, and then they were going to have Tuesday Weld, who is huge. She's like a cult priestess. Like, she's like leader of covens and shit. She's related to the Governor Weld from Massachusetts. She's like one of those families that's connected to power. And they raised her SRA, and they made her, she lives as a witch. She doesn't make movies anymore. She's very, people look into Tuesday Weld. That's the Beatles sing about Tuesday Weld. Tuesday's on the phone to me.
No, I've heard that same story. Yeah, very much. I think McGowan wrote about her too, like that she was a flat out witch.
Yeah, she is. It's a very deep rabbit hole. People need to go down that trail and take a look. So yeah, the dream is starting. She's floating on water. Her bed is like, she's falling into the dream of the subconscious, floating into the, unconscious, I guess. I'll just leave it there. So, he's taken off her clothes. She's like, oh, I need to make a baby. And he says, yeah, we'll do it. Sure. And then he starts, she's like, oh, it's time to make a baby. And he's like, yeah, sure. And he's like undressing her as she's kind of falling in and out of consciousness. And 43:15.
Yeah, we'll do it. He says, we'll do it. We'll do it. 43:15. Let's go.
And they dream JFK on a yacht. It's the guy, the actor looks just like JFK. And later he says, well, I'll just save it for later. So there's JFK there. He's like the captain of the boat. He's steering the ship. And it's kind of like, JFK is steering, taking control of the psyche of the people. Like she's one of the citizens, like he's her leader type idea. And so in the next one, 43:24, it's Hutch. It morphs into Hutch. Like, he is her strong leader that she trusts, like, the intelligent male that she looks up to for advice. And then they're taking off 43:30. And she's taking off her clothes. She's like, why are you taking them off? She's in the dream, but she's dreaming of his hands. So like both elements are combined in this dream, and 43:36, he says, go to sleep, Rosemary. He's like, he's telling her, we don't want you to be conscious. And look, he's
Right.
in darkness. He looks very sinister in this picture. So 4401.
4401. What guy pulls off her pants?
It's just her legs or whatever it's like. So he's pulling off her dress, and she's on this boat, and he's in total command of her. I think this was one of the scenes that was taken out when it was cut for the movie theaters when it was released.
Is there like a director's cut of this? Do you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think this is what we're watching is director's cut. I know the Criterion did a release of this. I think that this one actually has some of the frame chopped off because I've seen larger pictures of certain points in the movie. So I'm scouring the internet for another version, but I didn't get one yet. So anyway, this is Hutch on the dock that she's leaving him behind. And he has all those scrolls in his left hand. And if you know about statues and the occult ideas of statuary, if somebody has a scroll in their left hand, that means that they hold occult knowledge. That's common it's just known. Plus he's wearing binoculars.
It's like, the same sign. If you point to like your head in certain things, if you do this gesture means I have occult knowledge too. You can see one of the presidents doing that. I forgot which one it was.
Yeah, right.
The recent one, the one I can't remember his name.
So like, and another, like if the dude is riding, if the guy in the sculpture is riding a horse, if like one leg of the horse is up, it means this, and if both legs are up, it means that he was physically in battle. Like there's a whole lot of significance to that. But anyway, the scrolls, he had a lot of scrolls that shows he has a lot of knowledge, and she's leaving him behind. And then JFK says to her, Catholics only. She's like, why are we leaving him behind? He's Catholics only. You're coming with us now. And so I think that is related. And we were talking before about how the Catholic Church is an extension of the occult, of the old religion of Babylon. And it's just kind of got Jesus paint job, facade on it. But really it's the same rituals and the same holidays as the cult of Tammuz and Ishtar, the Babylonian fertility sun god, that whole thing. So anyway, she has lived the life of rituals, and it's Catholic rituals. So she's the proper vehicle for Satan's baby, right? So he's removing her ring. So that, again, he's like taking off the symbol of their, of the holy matrimony, so that Satan can have free reign over her body.
So like the sacred symbol of the wedding. Yeah.
Yes. So she's dreaming of being under Sistine Chapel, like Michelangelo, and this is in Rome. This is St. Peter's Basilica. So this is
it's a symbol of God and Adam, right? So it's Michelangelo.
Birth of man, I guess. That's where that's famous, where the fingers are touching and God is stretching out and man is just like, not really trying. And it's so it's there's a lot of occult significance to that painting by Michelangelo. People can look into that. It looks like God looks like a brain, like in the way it's shaped, and very interesting stuff. So here Hutch is warning of a typhoon. So like Typhon is the god of the ocean, Poseidon, and he's got a trident holding it up in the air, and he's got a sextant, and that's for like naval, for finding your way on the ocean, through the stars, with the stars. And I just wanted to say that, and it's like a wind storm god, and that is the same. The Baal or whatever, the Typhon is like a storm god, and that's
right.
like
But he's
Yahweh is
also
considered a storm god too.
yeah, I think Typhonian. There's a Typhonian stream and kind of the witchcraft, but
Right, the
also
OTO is
yeah,
Typhon.
yeah, it's Kenneth Grant, and
Right.
also he's a symbol of, and this actually plays into the Order of Nine Angles. He's a symbol of rebellion against the order because he was thrust down into the
Yes.
ocean, and he wants to come back to his ascended height. So
Right.
Typhon and the cult mean it's almost like a satanic thing where I want my I want my station back at the top with the Titans and with the gods. Yeah, so Typhon.
Right, and it's like, and he's like, the ocean is like darkness, and it's the wet, the opposite of like sunlight, and dry, like all the opposite of the solar deity would be the Typhon. And Churchill also would do the V symbol, and that was taught to him by Aleister Crowley, and it's a Typhonic symbol because Crowley or Hitler was using a solar symbol with the swastika, and so he clued Churchill into that, doing the V as like an opposition to that, and he told everybody it means victory, but really it's a magic symbol representing Typhon.
Interesting. All right, next one. Interesting. I mean, so they put a lot in this movie. I mean,
I'm sorry.
They took their time. They took their. This is like Eyes Wide Shut. Every clip had something in it.
Yeah, I mean, I took a lot of photographs. We don't have to stop at all of them, but I mean, most of them have something to talk about.
If we can go. Let's see, we're at 46 minutes. This goes on to 2 hours. Oh man, this might be a 3-parter.
All right, on. That's fine. I hope your listeners don't mind. So anyway, so he's saying she needs to go down below, and he is the elevator operator, and he has black skin. That's in occult symbolism, like it represents like a servant of darkness, right? And we don't think that today, and it's not, but that's I just wanted to mention that he was the operator of the elevator, and the elevator is a satanic symbol which pulls you down in a box down to hell. And if people look into the elevator, they could see there's a lot of satanic references to that. So this makes us remember the elevator, and he's driving her boat right now,
right. So
and
he tells her down, right?
Yes, he's guiding her down below. Yes, he's guiding her down below. And we're going to the next one.
Yeah, this one is something else. It's super occult.
Right. So we see that the checkered floor is black on black, and it's a bare mattress in front of a dark fireplace. And on the wall behind them are candles where there's 2 candles each. So that's like the duality on the wall. I can't really see what's on the chair. I don't know what that is. Maybe stuffed animals or something. But anyway, that looks like a very rapey situation that she's just walking right into it. It's black on black checkers is, we understand the checkerboard floor is Masonic.
Right. Yeah, totally Masonic.
We see behind her the mattress has rose prints on it.
Right.
And she's blonde. They prefer blondes.
In the I don't want to show the next one, this nudity, but I
thought I didn't.
It's okay. In the Masonic Lodge, the black and white checkerboard represents we walk above good and evil. So we're beyond the ordinary. We're beyond ordinary morality. That's what it is.
And the black represents the evil. And if you look, the checkerboard here is all black. It's black on black. They walk above evil and evil.
Wow.
And that's like where she lays down is upon the evil. So, and the rose, her name is Rose. The rose on the mattress Uh, and I think the next one with the old people standing around, it is in darkness. I don't think we really
Yeah,
see much of the old people. We don't have to. We can just
let's
imagine, remember
let's
from the
get the
film.
chant. Let's get the chanting here. Let's go
Okay.
to
All right.
Castavet's chanting, and he's going to start drawing, right?
Oh, yeah. So he is drawing on her body with a paintbrush. It's red, probably blood. And we can see Dr. Saperstein is right there next to him, watching as he paints. Um, and he's in his occult robe. The Castavet is in his occult robe, and everybody's chanting in foreign language.
All right. So then here's Minnie and Guy together, naked.
Yup. And he says, "Oh my God, she's awake." And she says, "She doesn't see anything. As long as she ate the mouse, she's knocked out." And he's like worried that she's going to wake up and see it because he wants to reduce her suffering as much as he can, but he has no power. He gave away the power to the Castavets.
Right. So if
And
she
yeah,
ate the
she says,
mouse,
right,
she can't see nor hear. She's like dead, no seeing.
right. And now she's making him sing along with the ritual. So he's participating all the way. And now she's,
Is this woman supposed to be Jackie Bouvier? Because she looks like JFK's wife.
it might
It's
be.
weird.
It might be because, yeah, maybe so. I always thought it was like an older version of the Tammy girl that jumped out the window in the beginning. But I think you're right. That might be Jackie
I
Onassis
don't
or
know.
whatever.
Jackie Onassis, yeah.
Yeah.
So then, let's see. Oh, yeah, here come the devil's hands.
Oh, and she says, "You better have your legs tied down." Yeah. For the listeners that aren't watching, like, it looks like JFK's wife saying, "You better have your legs tied down."
Yeah,
She was like, she says, "It's only a mouse bite, right?" And then we see the hands of some reptilian thing. They're like scales, and it's like, and we see that there's like pictures and numbers painted on her.
Right. So they've scrawled something on her.
Yeah, and the thing
here's the
has like
devil
big
eyes,
fingernails. Right? Yeah.
Did you ever hear the story that LaVey was in this movie or was somehow involved in it?
I did hear that, but I don't think I believe it. I think that he was involved. He was involved in like answering questions and making sure that it goes along with true Satanism. He was an advisor on the film, but I don't believe he was in the costume. I think that was like people hear that he was involved in the film and then they imagine he must have been the guy in the costume because there's no real evidence for that. I haven't found any. So she does wake up. She sees with her eyes open, this is no dream. This is really happening. And then she falls back into the dream. But she sees the eyes of this thing that's attacking her.
Cat eyes or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the Pope.
Vertical,
so the Pope he's traveling with his suitcase. He's got the news in, so is that a newspaper or is it clothes?
I don't know. It looks like cloth. But he's got his hat with the 3 crowns on it. And he's there visiting her. It's a very special occasion, So the last scene was the Pope, or was the reptile eyes like mounting her, and then she sees the Pope. I think there might be an illusion there. There might be a connection. And he's worried about her health, and she's talking to the Pope about the mouse bite that she had, like she's been invaded by this mouse. And like we were talking about culture creation, Mickey Mouse is a very big part of the satanic culture that we live in today. Like the psyche of the people has been infected by a mouse bite, literally. Not literally, figuratively, I guess. So we get a close-up of the Pope's ring, and it's customary to kiss the ring of the Pope, and that is the charm, the tannis root charm. So the Pope wears tannis root also. So that's tannis root is the devil's pepper. We talked about that in the earlier episode. So the Pope is signifying that he's part of this cult right now in her dream. But it is a dream, so it's not actually. But I mean, in any case, the filmmakers are telling us that the Pope is connected.
So I didn't know. I didn't get that whole Pope theme. So here she is. She has scratches on. He's saying that it was him, so he knows. He's gaslighting her again.
Right. And he's like all animated, and he's an actor. We can see he's nervous about it. That he has to lie to her now for 9 months, and then give away.
And that's an interesting aspect. So that, like, he's like almost the perfect guy for the role.
Yes.
Because he's an actor, so he can portray whatever to his wife to get the birth of the Antichrist done, right? The devil.
Yes. And we saw that Roman Castevet was friends with many actors in the past, and like Majeska, and we talked about some of them, and they were Masonic, they were knighted, they did Shakespeare, and Shakespeare is almost like an affront to Catholicism. It's like a shaking the spear to the ruling class of the church. So she has she has scratches on her, physical evidence that it wasn't just a dream, and he's trying to say like it was him, and he said,
"Oh, it's a necrophile sort of way, right?"
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I didn't want to miss baby night. It was kind of fun in a necrophile sort of way." I mean, what kind of joke is that? Like, who? Right. That's really messed up. And she's like discovering that he, took advantage of her while she was unconscious, and like, it's not very romantic, and like not the way to make a baby. It's really sick. So this guy, I mean, he's just a real.
It would be the way to make a baby if it was Satan, though, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because it'd be the opposite of love. It'd be fear and domination. All that.
And there's the Tesseract again, just like an Eyes Wide Shut.
Right.
So for those in the know, they would just see this and go, "Yep, there she is. She's now captured."
Yes, exactly. We see her head is framed within the frame, like she is framed within a frame. We call that in photography. And then even further frame of the light around her head. So her head is trapped within this light box, right? And that is this door on the left side of the screen is dominating the scene, and we see that it's the cube within the cube. That's the tesseract on the door, that symbol. So she's trapped now. She's trapped within the box because she's inseminated now.
She doesn't know it yet. Right. She doesn't know it, but the filmmaker's telling you,
right?
Trapped.
Mm-hmm. And now she learns that she's pregnant from Dr. Hill, and she's so happy.
Right. She doesn't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what's on its way.
Yeah.
And he tells her it's June, 28th is the
June
date.
28th was the date. Here, let me look on the calendar and see. June 28th. June 1 is Demon Revels. June 20th is Grand Climax through June 27th. And that is date varies annually. 5 weeks, 1 day after summer solstice, sexual and blood rituals. Abduction, ceremonial preparation, and holding of a sacrificial victim for Lammas Day. And there's like rape and human sacrifice. And then August 1 is Lammas Day, which is one of the high holidays. It's a blood ritual, animal and or human sacrifice, according to the witch's calendar.
So you're in November, the 11, right? She's in the 11th month.
Yeah, 11-1.
Yeah, 11.
Right, so that's 3 1s. Also, she's getting, it just says blood. And here, I've got, so let's see. Sorry, I got this.
It's okay.
Blood ritual, November 1st, the day after Samhain. The day after Halloween is November 1st. And a blood ritual is one that involves the intentional release of blood. And that's what the doctor on the phone is asking for. He's asking for an intentional release of blood on that day. She writes it down. The participants may regard the release or consumption of blood as producing energy useful as a sexual, healing, or mental stimulus. In other cases, blood is a primary component as the sacrifice or material component for a spell. So that's like what a blood ritual is for people. So now he's excited. He wants to tell Minnie and Roman. He's first people he wants to tell is Minnie and Roman. That's because he's excited that he succeeded in his job. You know, he works for them. You know,
he's fulfilled it. He's also wearing purple, like the color of royalty. She's got the white halo around.
Yes, so, like the Virgin. Yes, yes, and like the magicians would wear purple. And it's like the top chakra, the crown chakra, connecting to, you know, the astral world where your soul connects to your body.
Right. No, this is incredible.
The highest level of entertainment.
Got all the colors down and everything.
So he's already told them we're trying. Like, he's like, come on, let me tell them. She's like, she feels an invasion of privacy. And
what does it matter?
Right.
Why do these people care? These weird people who are
so much.
Who live upstairs or whatever.
Yeah, next door. Yeah. And it's so important for them. And then they come right over and they got alcohol. And she tells Rosemary, you're going to Abe Saperstein. She just tells her, you're doing it. And then, like, they talk about how Abe Saperstein is like a you know, well-renowned, has a great
he delivered our friends' babies, right?
Right, exactly.
Something like that. Like, oh, who are your friends?
The highfalutin types that have lots of money. So, and that's basically what the satanic cults do, serve those people, you know, like, you know, we see with Eyes Wide Shut and stuff too. It's the rich people that are engaging in this, and they have these riches because of their connection to the cult and so on. So anyway, they just come over and demand, you're going to Saperstein. And Saperstein was there at the ritual when they were writing on her body with the paintbrush. So, I mean, we don't, like, if you're seeing this movie for the first time, you don't recognize that. But when you watch it again, so anyway, she's thinking, okay, I want the baby to be healthy. And she knows this thing is a good luck charm, in quotes. So she goes and puts the charm on the Tanis root. So she is consenting to be under the control of Minnie and Roman.
Right, and she's got all that. The whole white theme is there, so she's like,
Virgil.
You know, Virgil. Right.
Yes.
Or Saperstein. This guy was a really famous actor. I forgot his Bellamy. His real name is Bellamy.
Right. I didn't write that down. I should have.
He warns her, don't read books, right?
Yes. Yeah. Who would trust somebody that says that?
Yeah.
Don't read books, and then
don't listen to your friends.
Yeah. Don't listen to your friends. Who would go along with that? It's just, it's like everyone's nightmare. Like, yeah. So now she has to, now she's under the control of this guy, who's like some dominant male, physician.
Right. So she's just constantly in that passive role or whatever. Subservient role. The whole movie.
Right. The vessel.
Until the end. The vessel role. The chalice role.
Yes. So she's taking this milk concoction, milk drink, and I don't know if you guys have. I don't know if you ever heard of bong. It's like the Indians drink this milk drink with. It's got hashish in it, and they celebrate Shiva when they drink this stuff, and
Never heard of that.
it's the only religious milk drink I could think of, like when I was watching this. But
How do you
I did,
spell? How would it be spelled in English?
I think it's Bang, Bong. Anyway, they have a Shiva festival, and everybody drinks it. The kids drink it, adults drink it. It's a mixture of milk with different herbs
Right.
and
It
hashish.
says BHA, at least on Wikipedia.
Oh, there you
I
go.
don't know.
Good.
I don't know how
Yeah, BH.
reliable
That makes
you
more
can.
sense.
Right, you can call Wikipedia these days.
Well, it's a good place to start sometimes. Yeah, bomb. Yeah, it's a milk drink, and they have it um, when they
Early as
celebrate.
1000 BC in ancient India, distributed during the spring festival of Maha Shivaratri, or Holi.
Holly. Yeah, yeah, and that's a fertility festival, and Shiva is another version of the um, like Inanna, Ishtar,
So those
that's
symbols of the
related to
goddess.
that. Like Shiva's the male version, and Shanti is the female, um, and I think it relates to that. Uh, but I don't know if they're doing that in this book or in this movie. But I guess I could have looked further in witchcraft.
I mean,
It's probably, but anyway, it's a
you could probably, if you read through witchcraft, you can probably see a lot more in this film that
right.
you may not know. Because I think somebody who is into witchcraft, they can see a lot.
Recognize
They
more.
recognize
Right.
certain stuff.
Yeah. I tried my best to look into that realm of knowledge, and I mean, in any case, it is a witch's brew that she is accepting every day to take. So now she mentions her hair. It's Vidal Sassoon, which is like the famous hairstylist dude, and Roman Polanski's wife had a hairstylist there when
Oh wow!
the wife was murdered. That guy was a famous movie star hairstylist.
Oh, he
Was
worked there. It was a Jay Sebring.
Jay Sebring, right?
Did he work for Vidal Sassoon?
I don't know if he did, but Vidal Sassoon popularized the bob cut, I think, and then like even shorter. It's like uh, gender bending type stuff. Like women are known to have, it's normal for women to have long hair in that society. And
the pixie cut, I think they called it, or something like that.
Yeah, right. And like the men were getting longer hair, and in this movie, the woman is being shown to have short hair. And I think it's a subtle like it's showing us the opposite of, it's like the Widdershins version of a haircut. It's against the natural feminine
order of things, right?
Yes, it's working against that. And her being blonde is important for the cult, And look at the lighting; she looks like a skeleton, like this.
She looks terrible.
Yeah.
She's eating raw meat.
Yeah, that's later on. Yeah.
Not raw yet, but she's eating.
Yeah, no, she
barely
does raw meat. She eats like turkey liver. Oh yeah, right here it's 6 seconds on the pan, like 3 seconds each side. It's so rare, it's disgusting. And she like takes a bite of the stuff, like it's great. So her tastes are changing. It's not normal cravings of a mother, pregnant woman will have weird cravings, but this is like raw meat, and it shows the bestial nature of her urges and cravings. Now she has this evil growing inside of her, and meat symbolizes the domination of another species, where you kill and eat something is like you totally owning that, and like, anyway. So this is Hutch visiting her, and he says, "What's wrong with you?" He instantly notices that she's emaciated and skeletal almost, and her hair is all short. And so guy's always saying, "Oh, it's just the haircut that makes you look bad." He's saying, she says she looks awful, but guy's like, "Nah, whatever, you're fine." And Saperstein says, "Oh, you're going to gain weight later. This is normal. Don't worry about it." Yeah. And he, Hutch understands natural processes of pregnancy, and he says to her, pregnant women gain weight, they don't lose it. And she's like, oh yeah, that's fine. And she's like, no. she's not paying attention to the reality, and she's walking blindly into this, control of their, evil cult.
So Hutch comes over, and then it's Castabets pops in, right, with the black checkered clothes, right?
Yeah. Well, it's Houndstooth, I think. That's.
Houndstooth,
But he just shows up. He hears the guy, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on?" Snooping, making
check
sure.
This out. Yeah.
And so she invites him in, and then we see that he has a pierced ear, and pierced ear is a blood ritual that is used in Wiccan magic. So it shows that he wears jewelry, which is weird for a man to do, and so he's hiding something. She notices that, and and he continues on, and she says, I'll bet expectant mothers chew bits of tannis root. She says that because she thinks the tannis root is healthy, and that's why she's drinking it. And Hutch is like, huh? Tannis root? And Hutch takes that little piece of information, and he goes and looks it up himself.
Right. So he figures stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
So here is.
Yeah.
It looks like mold.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And he uses his critical thinking mind, and he's like, that doesn't look like root. That looks like mold. And he smells it, and it smells bad. And he's like inspecting it, and then she says that they're, after he goes away, she says they're too friendly. She says to Hutch, they are too friendly. They are invading my space. She's very uncomfortable with how friendly they are, And then we find that yep, sometimes I think they're too friendly. And then he's leaving after Guy comes home, and they go to the closet to get his coat, and he's missing a glove, which is important.
Right.
And later we'll find out why. And
they're just weird, strange clothes, like this clothes that he wears. Variety, white jacket. She changes colors. She goes from drab to light. So
right,
just strange. Yeah.
Like he had just had to run home from the movie set, and he's still got his makeup on. She even talks about it later. Like he's wearing his costume for the thing. Like he had to run home because he was called by Minnie, probably. Hey, get home. Somebody's in that apartment. What the hell?
Right. Yeah,
you know what I mean? So guy shows up to usher the guy out again.
Right. And here she is not feeling well, but she starts making calls. And where's my notes? So this is her not feeling well, but there was, at this point, she's calling, but there are like repeats of 11s, like 11s over and over. So Hutch dies, but this is what I noticed when I was watching it. And 11's the number of magic. It's all over the place.
If you look at the timestamp, taken ill is 1:11. That's the 1 hour and 11 minutes into the movie. Wow. And November 1 is 11/1.
Right. Do you think that they actually timed that? They might have.
I think so. I think that because they had the advice of LaVey, he understands that 11 is a satanic number. 11 is like the next level up,
and she has to call. She has to.
Go ahead.
Right. She starts getting suspicious, so she has to make a call from a payphone, right?
Mm.
So she doesn't even want to call from home.
Yes. And she went to go meet him that morning, and he didn't show up.
That's right.
And she learns that he's in a deep coma, and this is at 11:47 in the film. So this is 1 hour and 11 minutes. So that one is like really being hammered in right now, the 11 thing. And so he's in a deep coma, and then we learn later that that coma is one of the things that they can do. So she's in pain, and that sculpture in the window is an Alberto Giacometti sculpture. It's he's famous for bronze, tall, thin figures made in the years of 1945 to 60. And the emaciated figurines are often interpreted as a existential fear, insignificance, and loneliness of mankind.
Wow.
Yeah, it feels sad and lonely, difficult to relate to. So
They
that's
should have,
just
they should have given the set designer here like an Oscar, because they got all kinds of stuff in here. The doors, all the doors look weird, and then like in different scenes, all the lamps are different shapes and color, upside down, triangles, circles. Like it's just like somebody really thought through it, and like we're gonna have this here, we're gonna have this.
And the being in the rain, that sculpture is in the rain. That's like emotive, like crying and like
sorrow. Wow.
So yeah, this is fun. All right, so that was Alberto Giacometti statue, and so now she's explaining her pain to Saperstein, and he's like nonchalant, like, oh, whatever, it's fine, you know. And this is at a New Year's party. It's New Year 1966.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And then so she's like, hey, I'm in pain. And he's like, yeah, whatever. Okay, fine. It'll go away. Just forget it. It'll go away in a couple of days. Like they keep telling her that. So now he
and I think it's at this party. Sorry, I think it's at this party where the guy comes up and fully makes the sign of silence. So this, you'll see this gesture in occult statuary and stuff like that. But see him, he goes up and does that to Saperstein.
Yeah, that's Harpocrates.
Like the sign of Harpocrates. Exactly.
Yeah, and you'll find that in Crowley's Thoth deck and stuff. Harpocrates, like to know, to will, to dare, and to be silent. Like that's
those are the dictums of the magician. That's actually what the Sphinx represents, and I think there is a Sphinx in this movie too. So,
this is great. So so these people are all in the cult. You know, these are the people that play the recorder through the wall, or where you can hear the chanting and stuff. And Saperstein is there with them celebrating.
He knows what's coming. He knows what's coming.
That's right. And Roman Castevet is making a toast to 1966, the year one.
Right. So he knows what's coming.
That's right.
Let's see. All right. So then she starts eating livers.
Yeah, eating raw liver. She just can't control herself. Just num num num. You know, pulls it out of the chicken, and you know, everybody knows that chicken, the salmonella, you got to cook this. You can't just eat raw chicken.
No way. It's super dangerous.
Right. But she is overcome with these urges to just eat that raw liver. So that, you know, it relates to carnism and, you know, the domination of others, you know, fear and death and sacrifice and all of those things, right?
Country flavor cookbook too is right there too. So.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
So I should have looked at those books too, man. I missed that.
But I mean, the thing is
there's
that,
probably more.
Yeah, there's probably. But I think it may be just the juxtaposition of kind of like normalcy with her eating livers raw, which is very abnormal.
Right. And we see her in the reflection of the toaster. And if you see, the moment in the film is 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 41 seconds. It's a mirror 14 to 41. Wow. So, like, the moment she sees the reflection is the moment on the film when there's a reflection in the time. So, she chances she by chance sees her reflection, and she's appalled. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm eating raw
God, what
liver."
is this?
Yeah. So like your conscious mind doesn't want to do that. She does not want to, but her urge inside is like, eat the blood, you know. So they have a party to make Rosemary feel better, and they mention, is this guy still blind? And we see on Guy's face his guilt, and he wants to change the subject because he's
He knows
responsible.
what, right? He knows.
Yeah, right.
So
And
then, and
so
it's
like,
like girl talk. They're all girls are together.
right. So she's doubled over in pain, and this happens to be the same dress that Prince William's wife wore
Oh,
when
I
she
heard
was
that.
displaying her baby. Yeah,
I
I might
heard
have
that.
that
Yeah.
on my. I guess I can't share the screen, but
Wow, that's so
anyway,
crazy.
that's people can look that up. It's like a cranberry red dress with like a white doily around the neck, and she was presenting her baby, and it's like makes us think of Rosemary's baby. It's really, it was next level, you know, really interesting.
All right.
So she is being consoled by her girlfriends, and they're keeping Guy out. So that's important
Right.
for SRA victims. SRA victims are kept in a world where everything is controlled by the cult, and they're not allowed to consort to talk to their friends, and they're kept segregated. Like they do that with cults too. It's a way of like keeping the mind control in place, because if you have outside influences, then
Right.
that might erode the mind control that they're trying to put her under. So now she has natural influences from women that are real women that aren't part of the cult, and they're telling her, suffering, when you feel pain, that's a sign that there's a problem, you know. And she's like, "Oh, the doctor says it's fine," and they're telling her, "You got to see another doctor," and she says, "I won't have an abortion." So that kind of goes along with the fear of women that are pregnant, if they're watching this movie while they're pregnant. Oh, maybe I should have an abortion. Maybe my friends, you know, she assumes her girlfriends want her to have an abortion, but they're like, no, no, we just want you to see get a second opinion. She
Right.
just assumed, because that's like the zeitgeist at the time. Oh, kill it, you know.
Right.
Uh, so he says they're a bunch of bitches and they're not smart, and you're not allowed to see them anymore. And you must keep seeing Dr. Saperstein. I won't allow you to go back to Dr. Shell.
Right. Yeah. So here he is gaslighting her and also
Mm,
totally controlling her.
yes. And she's got black eyes, and she's
She looks
emaciated.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah,
She looks terrible.
yeah, like a skeleton. Like that thing
I won't
inside
let
of
you do
her
it,
is
man.
like eating her from the inside, you know. And he says, I won't let you do it. He demands that she keep being under his control, you know. They don't want the outside influence, like I was saying. Um,
And then it kind
and
of gets
then
better.
all of a sudden it stops, and she says it's alive. And then in the corner we see a sculpture that is not emaciated. It's more voluptuous, fuller bodied female sculpture, and it's like all of a sudden it's relieved, and we see the roses under the light. Um, and like the spell, like they put a spell to make it stop the pain, because the pain was too much, where she was going to be out of their control anymore. So they must have done something to make the pain stop at that moment.
And
So
she,
she's so
okay.
happy, it's kicking, and then he touches the belly, and then he was like afraid to touch, and she says like, well, what are you afraid of, you know, whatever.
Right.
But he knows it's Satan's baby. Yeah.
Right. He knows. He knows it's
Yeah.
baby.
So we can keep
So then
skipping.
we go to Hutch is dead.
Hutch is dead.
And then she finds out he sent her a book when she's at his funeral, right? So make sure you
Right.
get the book.
Right.
Let's get that going. So
And the woman at the funeral says she must, you know, she must give her the book. That was his request. And then in the next slide, she says the name is an anagram. And when she gets home, Minnie reads the book. She reads the address. Okay, yeah. So she says the name is an anagram. Like what? The name of the book? She doesn't understand really, but she'll get it later.
And there's just look at these strange clothes. The clothes change in ways that are very unusual. Maybe they were just had different styles back then, but
yeah, the 60s they wore funny kind of crazy stuff. So this is Minnie Castevet is like inspecting who it's from, you know, what address it's from. You know, she's like weighing it, like, oh yeah, that's a book, right?
Oh, the Gilmores used to live there.
Yeah, she knows the house, like, whoa, very Snoopy, you know. So, so that puts the woman who gave her the book in danger, you know, just because Minnie saw this. So anyway, the name of the book is All of Them Witches, and that's not a real book. It's a fictional book created for the film. And when you open the book, we'll see Thomas Colley. And I don't know if that's a picture of Thomas Colley, but Thomas Colley is a real person. And I've got it here. Let's see. Sorry. Thomas Colley was a real person who was put to death for killing an accused witch.
Wow. And then, you know, what's interesting is this reminds me of The Ninth Gate, because the sketchings and art in this book kind of have a similar feel. Like there's definitely in the background, you can see the, at least of Colley, you can see this, what is it, the Zodiac, right? Upper left-hand corner, that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, right.
And it says, inevitably, since the god of the old religion became the devil of the new, the tables were turned. Pan's public image changed from white to black, for the very qualities and somethings which had endeared her to the ancient world made her something by the colder one of Christianity. So they're openly against Christianity in this.
Immorality.
Right.
So like
the mind of the witches, from the mouth goddess into the maid of the witches. Wow.
Right. And those are capitalized, so that's a specific thing, the maid of the witches. Thomas Colley was one of the leaders of a mob in 1751 who seized an elderly couple, like the Castevets are an elderly couple, wow. John and Ruth Osborne, from a local workhouse, accusing them of witchcraft. The mob subjected the pair to dunking at a nearby pond at Willstone. Ruth was beaten and dragged through the water repeatedly until Colley drowned her by turning her face down with a stick. John, the husband, survived and testified at Colley's trial. Colley was convicted of murder and hanged in chains at Goublecott Cross. And the next page, oh yeah, we're skipping ahead. Okay, yeah, Devil's Pepper. The thing before Duvenier, Prudence Duvenier, that is a name from a play from the 1800s. Camille.
They're all references to actual real events,
right?
Even though the book is fake.
The Camille, so Prudence Duvernoy was the dressmaker for Marguerite from a play La Dame aux Camélias. I guess it's a book, The Lady of the Camellias, and it was a movie in the 50s with Greta Garbo or something. I don't know, maybe earlier in the 50s, I forget. But it was played by Modjeska, who was the main character. Marguerite is like Modjeska was part of the earlier in the film. Prudence Duvernoy was her dressmaker or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it has more significance, but we're moving along. We're kind of cranking.
Well, we got about a half an hour, so we gotta.
Okay.
Let's try to get through some stuff. This is the one about Adrian Mercado, so this is very important.
Yes. Adrian Mercado is, that is the father of Stephen Mercado, and we're learning this here. Um, Stephen Mercado is a is an anagram for Roman Castevet.
Right. So she
So
finds that out.
she understands the child in this picture is Roman Castevet as a boy.
1899, right?
Yes.
Whose dad
So
is into black magic.
his dad was the one who was attacked in the lobby of the Dakota, or it's called the Bramford in this. But he was the one who was said to have conjured the living devil. Hutch told us about that earlier.
So he
And
was the one. So yeah. So
he's the
he
one that
just
was
had the
attacked.
rumor, but he was the one. Yeah. Right.
Right. And yeah, we see Stephen Mercado, and then she mixes up the letters and finds Roman Castevet.
Right, so that's it. Cast a bit. Right.
Where are we at? 130.
So she's unraveling it all. Yeah. So she's at 1:30. Then she shows Guy, and then Guy gaslights her again. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no,
Guy is like, he just won't listen to her. I mean,
yeah, no, yeah, honey, you're just full of baloney.
She's showing him reference. This is look at what the truth is. Look at her face. She is determined, and he's like, whatever. This is hogwash. This is mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, and she's learning about it, so she's got all the terms down. The SBAT isn't a correct term for some of these things,
Right.
like that's real.
Yes. Yep. And she's explaining to him, and she's like, read what they do. They use blood in the rituals. She says, baby's blood is the most important blood they use. These are true things that we're learning from watching this movie. If we've never heard of magic before, these are real.
That's what the real ones who do
real
this
witches do that. Yes. And he's like, give me that book. And he takes it out of her hand. And
then he puts it on the shelf. This is like an incredible moment. Like, I noticed this. This is one of the things I noticed in my first read through. But
I'm glad you did. Like, it's really like this is important to look at the books. So if you see the first one, if you see Yes I Can, the story of Sammy Davis Jr. Okay, so he's hiding the book directly on top of Sexual Behavior in the Human Male and the Human Female by Kinsey, which was we talked about it in the last show. Disgusting person who had disgusting habits, and he worked for Rockefeller to push a ultimately satanic ideal.
Ultimately,
yeah,
through fake science. Yeah.
Yes.
His conclusions were basically with the satanic idea.
Yes. And that's what led to the 60s free love, and that whole thing that they were living through at that moment in 67 or 68 when they were making this film. So he hides it on top of that. So
Sammy Davis Jr. So this is the other kind of. Sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, you're good. You're good. So the Sammy Davis Jr. is. Would you like to tell people what Sammy Davis Jr. is?
Right, he was a member of the Church of Satan. There's pictures of him with like Michael Aquino. Yeah. He was in like My Pet Devil. He was on some like promotion of Satanism, which he supposedly renounced. But he was in there with Christopher Lee, of all people.
Oh, right. Yeah, and Christopher Lee told people, don't mess around with black magic. Yeah. He told people straight up, it's not what you want to do. And there was, that Seinfeld show, comedians getting coffee in cars or whatever. Mm-hmm. He had, what's his name? The guy from Saturday Night Live, the black comedian. He was famous. The one who did
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy, right? Thank you. Eddie Murphy was there telling Jerry Seinfeld about the time that he met Sammy Davis Jr. And Sammy Davis Jr. told him, was very serious and said, the devil is just as powerful as God. And he was like telling Jerry, wow, that was spooky, huh? Haha. As they drove around, So he very much believed in the devil, and he was trying to win the others to the religion by saying it's just as powerful as the light, the darkness. And so, yes. And Yes I Can We know that Sammy Davis, or the Yes We Can of Obama, is
Wow. You're right.
Thank You Satan in
Correct.
reverse. And if everybody wants to look that up, they can say it into their own microphone and reverse it. If you say Thank You Satan, it sounds like Yes We Can in reverse. Like it's uncanny. And so he's thanking, yes I can, he's thanking Satan for this abundant life that he's had, And
That's
then
incredible.
next to this Satanist is Kinsey, who's also Satanist, and further
Mike
down,
Crowley was interested in Crowley's notebook, traveled to Crowley's magical whatever campus at
yes,
Abbey of Thelema. I mean,
ugh,
his satanic, at least that's just one part. And he was friends with Kenneth Anger, who's still alive. Like, so you had Kinsey was neck deep, man. He was,
yeah, I
yeah,
got to do a show about Kinsey.
yeah.
Really
I mean,
digging into
we should. I mean, because that guy's life. I mean, I got to know too much about Kinsey, but
yeah, that'd be great if maybe you could be on my show and we could talk about it.
Yeah, love to anytime.
That'd be awesome. So we also see Listening with the Third Ear, Theodore Reich, 1949. It's an inner experience of a psychoanalyst. He was trained by Freud, and the third ear is a skill of psychoanalyzing, psychoanalysts listening consciously and unconsciously. It's like a method. Yeah. And we also have Western intellectual traditions. The red one, I think. It's Western intellectual traditions. And so there's more. I didn't. Yeah, Western intellectual traditions. Jay Bronkowski. That's the one. The white spine. We can't see the black
Eastern
spine.
Approach. Eastern Approach is the red one.
Yes,
So
Eastern Approach.
East and West.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like bringing in the opposite of the Western, the opposite of the Jesus stuff. I mean, it's so anyway. So like
you can tell what he's reading, right? So he's not reading. These aren't books on Catholicism.
Well, that's what she's reading.
Christian.
She was reading Yes I Can on the couch with the Tesseract pillow. She had like a pillow with squares inside squares. And she was interrupted by Minnie, and when she was given that charm, she was reading that book. So like her mind is already infected by the satanic culture. So she's a Roman Catholic. So she's the perfect vessel for them. So they're going to Kennedy Airport, Pan Am. Pan is, Pan, God Pan. And let's see.
So T Guy takes it and puts the book in the garbage, right?
Yeah.
So she's looking for it. Like,
I threw it away.
About this stuff. Yeah.
What a bastard. Yeah, he so she's looking for the book, and he threw it in the garbage, and she's holding the Kinsey ones, as he says, put it in the garbage. Put it in the garbage. It'd be great if she would put those in the garbage. Yeah. Anyway.
Interesting. I mean, it's really there. She's holding on to the Kinsey books.
Right.
Like somebody did that intentionally.
Yes. And that's like her right hand is on them. Like that's the will of the person. Like, and there's obvious like, trouble in her eyes,
right.
It's upsetting her. That book is upsetting her because she's the feminine. She is the, like we said earlier, the psyche of the people, and those books, are upsetting her, like her face, she's touching those books. But he says, oh, I didn't want that other book to upset you, so I threw it away. So he's occulting information.
Right. He's occulting. Very well said. Yeah. Very true.
And she, this is a real scene. She was wearing the baby thing. Like Roman Polanski was holding a handheld camera, and he told her to walk out in traffic. And he said, don't worry, no one's going to hit a pregnant woman. And he filmed it himself, put her into danger. So this is like horns really honking. This is real traffic.
Wow. Amazing. So she chucks the charm away, right?
Yep. She throws away. She no longer wants to be under the control of the Cassavetes. She is changing her will to be free.
Right. Yeah. And so this is Witchcraft by Stella Loudon. I doubt that real name really exists.
I don't think it's a real. Yeah.
That charm right there in the middle really exists because that comes from Elvis Levy.
Yes,
That's a known Elvis Levy
right.
charm.
So this book has real information, and so she goes and she's thirsting for real information. She gets her own new books about witchcraft, and she's opening these books. And at 3718, we can see uh, the coven has the force of the whole coven could blind, deafen, paralyze, and ultimately kill the chosen victim. The united mental force is sometimes called a coven. When they unite their mental force, it's also called a mastermind. When they work all together and they do the ritual and they all imagine the right thing in unison with each other, and it like, uh, it converges the will of everybody together to be more powerful.
Right.
So it also says that if they obtain a personal possession of the victim is sometimes necessary to do these type of rituals. And she's like, huh? Because she remembers that one of the gloves was stolen from Hutch.
That's
So she's
right.
piecing this together in her mind. Uh, and she's calling to ask if the guy's tie was stolen, the gentleman who was blinded. And she learns that
They
Donald
traded
Bumgart
ties. Right.
had they traded ties. So she's like, oh. So
Now
she is
she's
confirming that
right.
Guy is working with them. So she's out of there. She's like, packed
Yeah.
her bag.
Done.
Oh, good for her.
Dunzo. Right.
So she's
Takes
going
the
and
elevator, right?
she takes the elevator, which is, like we said, a satanic symbol. And the red light turns on above her. And we can skip past all that. And then so oh yeah, there's the red light. And
But this is important though. She gets to Saperstein's office, and then you have another
yeah.
very potent, phrase or statement. Not yes I can, but is God dead?
Yes. Is God dead? So this is a real magazine, Time Magazine, April 8th, 1966. Is God dead? It's the first time the magazine had ever used just type on its cover without an associated photograph. The story
Oh wow.
the story in contained within, which concluded that religion was dead, included the opinions of Christian theologians, including Gabriel Vahanian, whose book The Death of God helped spark the radical movement. So there was a movement. Death of God theology refers to a range of ideas by various theologians and philosophers that try to account for the rise of secularity and abandonment of traditional beliefs in God. They posit that God has ceased to exist. Friedrich Nietzsche used the phrase God is dead to reflect increasing unbelief in God. The concept rose to prominence in the late 1950s and 60s before waning again. So that's right at the time that this film was being created. Uh, the Death of God movement is sometimes technically referred to as theothanatology, derived from the Greek theos, God, and thanatos, death. And the book was The Death of God, 1961, by Gabriel Vahanian, Vahanian. Um, a part of the discussion of the death of God theology during the period. The book describes that many people in this era, the new aeon,
Right.
regarded the Christian God to be irrelevant to their situation. He describes that Christianity and particularly theism was not resonating with people. The book describes the process of secularization, namely how society has steadily removed God from its institutions. Vahanian contends that the apparent religiosity of the 1950s obscures many from recognizing this process. But the 60s and the satanic zeitgeist was trying to tear away the veil of the 1950s religiosity so that people could start to see that we have become less focused on God in our institutions of culture. Um, and uh, this is a famous issue, and it was it was on the shelf during the time that this movie was in the theaters.
That's incredible.
So it's
They
all
just
part of the
integrated it.
zeitgeist. Yes.
Wow. So then she goes to Hill, right? So she's gearing up to go to another doctor, like her friends told her, right?
Yeah, she learns that Saperstein smells of tannis root by the lady at the desk. And she's like, "What?" So she thinks, "Oh no, Saperstein's one of them." So she takes off and she tries to go and call Dr. Hill. And she's
So she
calling
gets
frantically from phone booth. And she says that all of them are witches. Yeah, so she's telling Dr. Hill right now that everything. You could hear them singing, "They want my baby,"
right.
you know, "Please help me." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he's listening and he takes the books. And then she says Dr. Saperstein's name. And he says, "Abe Saperstein?" And then he says, "Wait here." And then he calls Abe Saperstein to come get her.
And the husband, right? So guy
And the
shows up
husband
too.
there. Yep. And you see that Abe is the leader. Husband's just following behind, like, like totally not in control.
And
Yeah.
we're going to tell you, send you into a mental institution.
Yeah, they threaten that, which is very scary for women. And I mean, they would scoop out like hysterectomy because they thought that it made women hysteric. Like, take out all their reproductive organs. Like, they would, if you don't consent, then they would tie you down. Mental hospital is the worst nightmare of anybody. Like, nobody believes you, and they're going to tie you down and torture you if you don't shut up and be. So anyway, they have snuck in her apartment. She's trying to, uh, I forget who she's calling, but anyway, she locked out them. She got away from Saperstein. She ran up into her apartment, and now they're in her apartment, sneaking behind her. So she's totally under their control, no matter what she does. Now they have a needle at 1 hour 57 minutes exactly. We're your friends, Rosemary, as they bring a needle.
Right.
And people can imagine, what I was trying to get at by taking that photo screenshot
Then
right there.
Then it's like, we are in labor.
Yep. Oh, all of her
not
stress.
you. We are.
Yep. Exactly. And he grabs that, like the bump of her belly, and like he owns that thing, taking control. And she cries and she says, "Forgive me, little Bobby or Jenny or whatever." And her face is in darkness as they take her. And then he says to her, after she did hear, she woke up and then went back to sleep. But the first time she woke up, a guy told her it's a boy, and she's like, "Oh, great!" And she went back to sleep. And now Saperstein's telling her there were complications. The baby's dead, and she's like, "Oh," but the cult basically stole the baby, and it goes along with what she already thought. They wanted the baby for the blood. She still
So she
doesn't
thinks that
recognize.
they're going to sacrifice her and put a child.
Yes, because they're an evil witch coven, and that's all that she can imagine, really, because she isn't piecing together that that thing that raped her wasn't Guy. She still thinks it's Guy's baby. So anyway, she's angry about it, and then
Just tons of drugs. So like
another needle
you got the
appears.
drug themes in this. Like, well,
Right, she's not taking her meds.
and
Yeah,
then
and they give her another injection.
more Guy gaslighting and lying to her.
Yeah, he tells her she's crazy. Yeah, and so let's see. Yeah, so prepartum crazies, he says. So don't worry, you were just crazy. We'll be fine. And then he talks about how his career is going to be great. We'll have a big pool and all this bullshit.
Right. He's telling her about the future now. We're going to come back from this.
Yeah.
And then she hears baby crying, right? And they're getting her breast milk.
Yeah, they're taking her breast milk, and she puts the spoon in the milk, and she's like, the woman's like, oh no, don't do that. She's like, you know, wondering why they want to keep that. What are you doing with the breast milk? Oh, we just throw it away.
Right.
And
And so
so
it's the
now,
closet. That's how they're getting in too, is through the closet, right?
right, that's why it was blocked up by the old lady before. And so she's peeking through, and she's seeing this coven.
Right. So
And
she's in, she gets in, and then there's the burning cathedral. Like they love the church burning down.
yes, yes, burning cathedral painting. And I think it might be in 1666, there was a big cathedral in London which
Yeah, that
burned.
was the
St.
famous
Paul.
London fire. Yeah.
St. Paul, yeah. And and the next one is called The Spell by Francisco Goya. It was painted in 1797 to 98. Right there. That's The Spell. And if you can see, it's a gaggle of witches that are trying to grab a virginal boy or young man in a white frock, and they've got a basket full of babies. On the head of the witch with the babies is an owl, like with wings extended. Um, if you show the photograph, I mean, I sent
Yeah, I
you a
got it.
PDF
Oh, I
of
got it.
this so we can get a full view of this painting. It's a witch's coven that is stealing babies, and they're consorting with demons. You see above the head is a demon pointing with a bone
Right.
at her book that she's singing a hymn from, and she's got a candle lit. And then the next witch over has like 2 points on her hat, and she's got like bats or something holding up the 2 points, and she's got like a what looks to be like a small cat or something that has no fur, like they're gonna sacrifice this animal too. And they're reaching out to grab this young boy who's like praying that they don't hurt him. And there's like bats and owls, and it's night. It's very uh,
Dark
ominous.
moon. Right. There's a half moon or whatever.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So it really adds to this. When she said earlier, oh, they took their paintings down off the walls. These are the paintings that they took down. This one and the Burning Cathedral, and also Adrian Marcato was up on
Oh,
the
so they
walls.
took the book. They took them down for the party, right?
Yes, yes. When they invited them over to talk to them for the first night, when they had them, they were talking about, oh, the Pope's not so holy, blah blah blah. Okay, so she enters the room, knife drawn. They're all having this party, and they're normal-looking people. They're normal, middle-aged to older people that are just having a fancy little party. And there's a black cloaked crib with an upside down cross over by the window at the far end of the room. And we see Guy is there to the right, and he's chatting it up with Minnie or somebody. And
The guy on the far right is the guy who made the Silent Sounds on the New Year's Eve party. So he's
right,
back.
yep. So it's all the same people as the New Year's Eve party. And she goes further into the room.
Let's do this.
So they had a. So behind them is Adrian Marcato painting. We see Guy's face. He's like, ugh, okay, I gotta go take care of this. Like she's got a knife. Like I gotta control her, right? And let's see.
There's gifts and presents, so there's a celebratory thing going on.
Right, it's like a shower, like for the baby. And so, we see Adrian Marcato painting above the fireplace, and then she's reaching into the crib. She wants to see. Yep, and then beneath they have the clawfoot winged feminine character that looks like Lilith on the corners of the mantelpiece. If you see mantelpiece below the mantle, and above is Adrian Marcato, a portrait of the guy. And at the ritual, there was Adrian in her dream. Adrian Marcato was there too. We'll recognize him from the painting. But we don't need to go back to that. But, so she's reaching in the crib, and then she sees it. I don't know if you want to show those ones. Yeah, it doesn't care about them anymore, and she's drawn to that baby. She wants to see that's her baby. Overcome with the motherly instinct. She sees what it is, and she is afraid, and she asks, "What have you done to it?" Its eyes, and then Stephen Marcato, Roman Casavet, replies to her, and he says he has his father's eyes. And she is protesting, and she says, "Guy's eyes aren't like that." And Guy is over in the corner covering up his eyes, ashamed at what he's done to her. Yeah, there's Roman and Minnie. Minnie looks at her like, here's the truth, There's the Asian behind them who's going to take pictures like a tourist, And there's Guy hiding his eyes, It wasn't him who impregnated her. She's learning that now. And these people are very normal looking people. And that's what they want to show you, that satanic covens are normal people. They are, they are in your society. And this is, Roman is explaining to her, he came up from hell and begat a son of a mortal woman. Satan is his father, not Guy. And Minnie is trying to console her. He chose you out of all the women in the world. He chose you to be the mother of his son, like it's an honor. And then everybody says, "Hail Satan." It's just like a nightmare. She's like,
Did you get the feeling that this group? Sorry, I was on mute.
No,
do you get the feeling that this group has kind of a diverse element? Because you have one kind of, because like an Asian guy, an Aryan-looking guy,
and she said,
almost like a global element to it.
Exactly. And she said they have the covens in Australia, in Europe, and here, And of course, New York would be the place, It's a worldly city. And
that's it. It can't be, she says. God is dead. So you're going back to, is God dead, right? So you have him maintaining that theme from the Time magazine article to this statement at the end.
Right. Which is the zeitgeist that happened to clear away the 50s and to cut away the old era. The new aeon of the satanic is year 1, 1966.
Right, the year is one.
And he's like exclaiming, "The year is one." And that's like their new calendar is not built on Jesus. New calendar is built on the mortal son of Satan. Not the mortal, but the incarnated human son of Satan. The opposite of Jesus.
So it's the opposite, the Antichrist, right? So it's the opposite of Christ. It's not our time based upon Jesus. It's something else.
Right. And the Satanic Church, they set their year 1 at 1966 also.
Right.
So when they date their stuff, it's like they call it the year of the light or something. I forget. But anyway, 1966 is when the official Church of Satan sets their calendar at. And he's wooing her to be the mother of her baby, to use her natural maternal instincts against her, to enslave her. And that is what the victims of SRA are held captive in the cult for longer if they're impregnated, and because then they want to stay alive to save their kid instead of just killing themselves and just being free. They stay to save the kid, and then they follow orders to keep the kid safe. She spits in his face, rightly. It's uh, because the truth is revealed, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna be fine. We'll have plenty of other kids. You weren't
Right.
hurt.
So
They said they weren't gonna hurt you, so don't be mad."
right. We get so much in return. I think is the other one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're gonna have a pool in Hollywood. Yeah, and so they're trying to, the older woman is mad that she is taking over the motherly role. She's like, "Get out of here." And then she says, "You're trying to get me to be his mother." And he's like, "Aren't you his mother?" And she goes and she continues to rock him. She rocks him properly, and the baby stops crying. And the motherly instinct overcomes the horror of the evil, and they all watch happily as the mother of Satan uh, chooses willingly to raise that baby. So they finally get um, her will aligned with theirs, and now she is willing to be the mother of Satan. Yeah, and that's like
Mother of the child of Satan, right now.
right, and that's kind of like every mother will love their baby, even if they want to abort the baby, they're still gonna love it, even if it's like you know deformed or whatever. There's a maternal instinct, and they're using it against her. And that's what they do. That's how they work their magic. And so she
Because
is
she wouldn't want to have done it before, but then once the baby's born, it's like, well, that's my baby.
exactly
Right.
right. She was trying to save her baby and keep it herself, but she lost. She lost it. She did not have the strength uh, to defeat them.
Wow. Yeah, it's excellent, excellent work. I mean, there's amazing stuff in that movie. There's no question about it. No question at all. We are
Awesome.
at the 2 hour mark. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing this
Well, you're
for
very
this
welcome.
movie and all that stuff. Where can people listen to your show? It's Wake the Dead, right? Right.
Yes, yes. Wake the Dead. You can find me at all the podcasting places: Spotify, Google, Apple. Um, Under Wake the Dead, and I'm on Odyssey, BitChute, Rumble, um, and you can find me at onegreatworknetwork.com, and I'm under the creator section, and there I post all of my stuff that have recently posted, all the videos and audio. You can find it all there. Um,
So one
and thank you
great
for
work.
having me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
One onegreatworknetwork.com.
One great
Yes.
work. Wake the Dead podcast. So I'll put those links in the show notes. So we made it through this whole thing. They Ira Levin was very smart. I have to read the book now because I want to see how
Yeah.
true to the book, because
I
I've
would
read,
like.
you know,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've read some other books, like I know Fight Club, they veered off,
Mhm.
Clockwork Orange, the endings were
I've
different.
I've heard interview with Ira Levin saying that they were they stuck to the book.
Wow.
Even the colors that he described in the book, they put on the film. So there were only a couple things that were different, but he was very pleased with how true to the book that it was.
And that's not always the same. A lot of these authors, sometimes they just feel like people were really dishonest to them or they change things. And I know
Yeah,
Kubrick changed all the
right,
books that he had based on film, The Shining and things like that, to
right.
totally
He had
different.
a contempt for narrative, as he didn't. He was making a visual thing. Kubrick was great, but
Yeah.
yeah, the I'm glad that we got to speak about that, and this has been very fun for me.
Very
And
cool. Me too.
the more I look at it, the more I learn. And this is
You
great.
learn, but I think that the subtext is that they're not just giving that's the whole subtext of the whole thing. Guys in on it from the beginning, in my opinion,
Yes,
but that it's not just the birth of the Antichrist or the child. That's why you almost don't even ever see the child.
right.
You just
Well, they
it's kind of like the Jaws approach, where it's even in your own mind, it's worse than
exactly,
actually seeing something.
exactly.
But it's also allows you to kind of possibly see it at a different level which is the birth of Year Zero, birth of the satanic God is
Yes.
dead worldview.
Yes,
And
exactly
that's
that.
what's in there. Yeah.
The new aeon of
Yeah.
Satanism. Yeah.
And that's what Crowley said. Like, I think when Crowley said, "When is your birth of the child going to take place?" 1960s. Leary said basically the same thing. You
Right.
know, I wish Crowley could be here to see the glories he created. I feel
Right.
like they're
Leary
carrying
said he
on.
was continuing the work
Yeah.
of Crowley.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, Crowley he ran a ragtime band, he would have musical shows and stuff and his whole
He had
idea
the
of,
rights of Eleusis. He did the ragtime band that went to Russia.
yeah,
So yeah,
right.
culture
So like
creation, very much so.
musical performance was part of it. And they, and the, there was, it was an extension of that, like you said. Um, and Crowley was Luciferian, he, in the common parlance of the term Luciferian, like as this, like a satanic type Luciferian, um, and he's opposing the Christian ideals. Like what he was pushing was fighting, like he wrote in the Book of the Law that Horus was going to peck out the eyes of Jesus, you know, like
Right.
um, like to fight the current Christian uh, zeitgeist or whatever. And that's
Right.
really what the 60s did, is like it washed all that away. And then with their, their hallucinogens, it like wiped their minds clean with the psychic driving. And you know what I mean? It's like you and Cameron on mass to
Right.
everybody.
Throw in some Kinsey where just
Yeah.
everything's permitted, nothing is true.
Yeah.
Although everybody's gay. That's basically what Kinsey said. Like everybody's gay. The
Yeah.
real statistics are there's
And
very
if
small
you
amounts
look
of
at
people are actually
if you look at
homosexual.
SRA victims, they talk about how when they're in the cult, they're made to dress and act as the opposite sex. Like if you read Kurth Barker in his book, uh, Blood Drinking Cannibalism and High Occult Satanism, he describes how when he was a child, he was made to dress up like a girl. He had a girl's name. In the pornography, he would have to be dressed like a girl. And then in regular life, he was a boy again. It was like Kathy and Kurth. Like that's what they do to the kids to like mess with their heads. So this whole transgenderism thing,
It's Satanism.
it's
It's
part of it.
Luciferian. Yeah, it's
Yes, and
Luciferian.
it's made to like break down our selfness, like so that we're part of the collective, and
It's
then we
incredible.
give up our humanity. Yeah.
It's totally evil. It's
Yes,
totally evil. Like
very much.
just to talk like what gender you are or where are you
Yeah.
on some scale is
And
awful.
people like the president are like complaining that, oh, if you get rid of Roe versus Wade, then the transgender kids might be kicked out of public school. I'm like,
That's true.
there is no transgender kids, but that's the language they use. Like,
Right.
there's little boys and little girls, and and there's child abuse, right? And it's great that we can.
They used to arrest people who talked to kids about sex. They
They
should be
should.
arrested.
Yeah.
They should be
I mean,
immediately arrested and charged. I
yeah.
don't
I
know what's
mean,
going on.
at least people should keep their kids away from it. Teach their kids
No,
like stranger danger, that whole
yeah,
thing. Like it
it's
really is
terrible.
important. And
I've
for
seen
people
stuff
to
in
like,
this country that I never thought I'd ever see
yeah,
in my life. Like this is astonishing. Just
yeah,
brutal propaganda, transgenderism. Do you know? I did a show with Roberta Glass, and she said that all those dudes who say they're transgender, 90% of them have not undergone surgery.
yeah.
So there really aren't. They're
Mm.
not actually haven't changed their gender. They're just wearing a dress and lipstick, and they're saying, I'm a woman." You're not a woman.
But it's
You're not.
like
I want
it's
proof.
like it's
Yeah,
like
no way. Yeah.
Baphomet though. Like it's got boobs, but it's still got the phallus.
Right.
I think because the phallus is a powerful symbol for them. Uh,
It's
some of them chop it off. Like,
yeah, some do. I mean, I think
it's
all of that stuff
yeah,
is a huge. They've gotten into people's minds that this is kind of a
yeah,
way to happiness, and
yeah,
it's a virus. It's worse than AIDS. Like
very
those
much.
people, women who cut like that your questioning itself is very Luciferian, that you can change as Luciferian. It's against God's plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Done.
like we're
There's no
given
more
this
talking
flesh
about
as
it.
a
Yeah.
gift, you know.
Yeah.
Why chop it up? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
and then if you look at the ancient occult, like the Inanna and Ishtar, their high priests, the male priests, would cut it off, everything, like the whole package, and then would dress up as women and dance. They were called Gali, and like Jesus was from Galilee, like it, you know, and
So
he
that
wore
was
long hair like
yeah.
them, or like the common idea of what he was. But I guess he didn't actually have long hair. But anyway, it's very
Well,
convoluted.
yeah.
But I don't
We
want
can get
to
into
talk
that.
about.
Let's do a show on Kinsey. Have me on. I'll talk to
Yeah,
you.
that'd be
That'll be
wonderful.
pretty graphic.
Right,
That's
we'll
a rough
schedule
show.
that. That'd be wonderful.
But
Thank you.
there's a lot more research there. It was Judith Reisman, I think, wrote a book about him and how he actually died. Like people, he would
Yeah.
delegitimize anything he wrote outside of.
Do you want to tell
Well,
the listeners how he died? It's funny.
you can read in my book.
What's it, Reisman? How do you spell it again?
Judith Reisman. It's Reisman.
Okay.
Judith Reisman.
Judith. Thank you.
It's pretty graphic how he went out. I think it was actually altogether fitting and proper way for him to go.
Yeah, he was sick, and he
wasn't well.
and he was trying to use science to explain away his own sickness, and then he would, put that his own crazy onto others and be like, when was the first time you had relations with a goat? Not like, do you ever?
Right.
It's assuming they do. And that kind of questioning like helps the evil stuff spill out.
And they say that his pool of people that he talked to was skewed. It wasn't just
criminals
a
and the insane. Yeah. And then he said
was
that
very
was the
responsible,
normal human male. That was the psyche of the human mind.
Right.
No.
Oh no, there's all kinds of problems. Like if you do scientific research and scientific process, and you can apply this to vaccines as well, is let everybody look at your research, and you have to have a third party review. And he never allowed that. So that can tell you a lot about what he was up to.
Yeah, and the Kinsey people are still not releasing the notes of like who gave him all those pedophile notes and the rapist. Because they were protecting him from arrest.
Oh, wow.
Still to this
it
day.
should have been arrested. They did experiments on infants. Like they were sick. Sick.
They would go on like 12 months old. They would abuse the child for 24 hours straight. I mean, and then
torture.
they would say that the screaming sound means the kid likes it. It's so sick.
Yeah, that
anyway,
is.
Yeah, that would be a very sick
episode. There's a lot of material there on Kinsey. I got tons of pictures too.
That's
like
great.
Him at the Abbey of Thelema, Crowley. There's a lot of stuff. I think the other documentary was by Chris Pinto. I can't remember the name of it, but it has the video that Kinsey or somebody at the Institute took of Kenneth Anger doing the experiments. Kenneth Anger's story is really crazy, man. That's another one.
Yeah,
that's all. We could do a show on him too. Because he was everywhere, man. He was Crowley.
Yeah. And he wrote the Hollywood Babylon books.
Hollywood Babylon.
Hi. Sorry, that's my son.
all the way up to like, oh God, what is it? James Franco. So all the way up. So they did a show called
that dude is
Old Days. Yeah, Love in the Old Days. Go check out Love in the Old Days. It's totally cool. I'll let you go. Sean
McCann, that's fine.
Thank you so much for your time.
I love you. Thank you so much for having me, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you again.
Let's do it again soon. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. So